What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we are going to be taking an in-depth look at the new, remade, remastered Titan Striker Subclass in Destiny 2. Now, this was playable at the Destiny 2 World Gameplay Premiere, and I got to do an entire strike as this class, use it a lot, and kill a lot of enemies with electricity. So today, we're going to be going over every single one of the perks and abilities that were available in that game space and showcasing what they do. So let's get started. Now, the Striker is the Striker because of the Fist of Havoc. And actually, that joke, you can't make it anymore. Bungie has taken out the panic from the Fist of Panic. It's now just the Fist of Havoc. In fact, they specifically said when I was talking to a developer at PvP, I inquired into this. I said, holy crap, like, it's a roaming super. That seems really good. And he said, yeah, you know, the power is quite there. It's very, very powerful. You get to do multiple slams, but you don't have that instantaneous kill potential. You will have to do an animation. So if you utilize it at the wrong time, and this holds true for all of the supers in Destiny 2, apparently, if you utilize it at the wrong time, if you don't kind of get behind cover and then pop your super, you are viable to just get sniped in the face. You don't have to worry about, in Destiny 2, turning a corner, seeing a guy, and instantly dying to a super that hasn't been activated yet, like you do with the Fist of Panic. So that's very interesting. Now, game theory and game design aside, the actual super node for the Striker subclass is called Fists of Havoc. They just made it plural. Same buttons to activate it as in Destiny 1, and while you're in your Fists of Havoc, you have the option to do two different things. Pressing, for me, was the right trigger, the same button that lets you shoot your gun. You're going to slam the ground and do a traditional Fist of Havoc slam. However, if you press the melee button, you're actually going to do a different kind of attack. A shoulder smash attack that does a lot more damage than a normal shoulder charge. This will also let you bound across the map. You move a considerable distance when you press this shoulder slam button. So that's really interesting. That opens up some pretty cool possibilities, using this super and then using shoulder slam, shoulder slam, shoulder slam to move across the map really, really quickly. And you'll see actually me do that in the background gameplay. There was a teammate that was down, and I used shoulder slams to get to him a lot faster than I otherwise would have. And so that's going to add a degree of utility to this super. Now, moving on from there, we have the entirely new class abilities. Now, there's a little bit of confusion around these because they are totally different than what's in Destiny right now. Essentially, the easiest way to think about it is that every single subclass in Destiny 2 is getting its version of the Shade Step. Right? The Shade Step is just another ability in Destiny that the Night Stalker Hunter gets, you know, square to evade. And it's something that just gives that subclass a little bit more usability in a variety of different scenarios. It's just basically an extra ability that you get for free. And again, in Destiny 2, every subclass is going to get that extra ability. For the Striker, it is Barricades, and you can choose between two, or you could at this gameplay event. The first one is the Towering Barricade, and as you can see, it's going to cause a massive shield to appear, completely covering yourself and probably a couple of allies from incoming damage. This is great for certain PvE activities where you can just completely cover off. You know, for example, if a bunch of enemies are spawning down a hallway, you can just completely cover off that hallway from those enemies shooting at you. And that can be great if you're doing some sort of wave survival mode, I would say. If you want to damage a boss also, you can get into a position where you can damage that boss, sever off, you know, behind you so you're not getting shot at, and then go to town on the boss. So definitely some great utility there. However, there's another barricade that you can choose instead. This one is called the Rally Barricade, and like the Towering Barricade, you activate it by just holding circle on the PlayStation 4. You're going to deploy this smaller barrier, and very importantly, you're going to crouch behind it. The cover mechanic that is in Destiny right now that nearly nobody uses because it's much more useful to be moving around and being mobile, but there is a cover mechanic in Destiny. If you go to cover, you will, and crouch near it, you will actually kind of go behind it, and you can aim down sights and pop out of that cover and then stop aiming down sights and go back behind that cover. That cover system is returning in Destiny 2, and that is made obvious by the rally barricade. When you deploy it, you will instantly take cover behind it, and as long as you don't move away from it, you can aim down sights, and you're going to peek over the cover, and you'll see me do this in the background gameplay, and then when you stop aiming down sights, you're going to go back behind your barricade. Very, very useful. You can kind of make yourself a turret, essentially. Aiming down sights, killing enemies, and when you're getting too much incoming fire, well, just stop aiming down sights, go behind your barricade, regen your health. Super useful ability, especially in PvE, and I can see this being used in PvP as well. Just going to an objective if you want to hold down a flag, using your rally barricade and setting up, saying to the enemies, come get me. Now moving on from there, we have the same 3 jump abilities in Destiny 1 returning in Destiny 2, with firstly, increased height, grants you the ability to jump higher. We then have increased control, which is going to give you better directional control, and then lastly we have Catapult, which provides a strong initial burst of momentum. And before you guys ask, yes, I tried to Titan skate with control, and no, it doesn't work. So Titan skating in Destiny 2, unfortunately for you Titan fans, it's not going to be a thing. And moving on from there, we have the same 3 grenades in Destiny 1 returning in Destiny 2 again. Firstly, with the flashbang grenade, going to cause some damage but also disorient any enemies that you do hit. After that, we have the pulse grenade. This is going to, upon impact, send out pulses of damage every once and a while. And lastly, lightning grenade. Now, lightning grenade, from what I saw, works a little bit differently. Firstly, it's more obvious when it's about to strike. There's a little beam of light that comes out and connects in the middle, and then it does its damage. And also, it doesn't activate right away when you throw it. It's going to have to do a little bit of an animation before it damages you as well. So it's a little bit different on how that works. Again, these abilities may be returning, but they work a little bit differently than they do in Destiny 1. Now next up, we have the different Titan codes, and this is really interesting. You can see down in the bottom right, it says Code of the Juggernaut, and that also appears in my main class selection menu when I just go over my Striker subclass. It says Code of the Juggernaut. That means I'm specializing in this particular code. So when Destiny 2 fully releases, you may only get to pick one code, and even more interestingly, these different codes, these bundles of perks essentially that work together, that's actually great for DLC. Bungie can keep adding more and more codes. Code of the Juggernaut, the other one isn't actually named, you can still see the abilities, and then they may add more codes for the Striker as the game progresses. It's a way to introduce new cool abilities for the Striker without having to add an entirely new subclass. Now I do hope they do both, I'm not opposed to a new subclass, but it would be cool if the existing subclasses get constant upgrades and constant differentiation in the expansion packs by getting these new codes. That is really cool. In any event, the Code of the Juggernaut has these 4 perks. Firstly, Reversal. It makes it so that melee kills immediately trigger health regeneration. After that, we have Knockout. Breaking enemy shields increases your melee range. And then we have Trample. Fist of Havoc lasts longer while sprinting. Killing enemies with Fist of Havoc extends its duration. And I think they've actually missed the S on Fists of Havoc. That's kind of funny there. Bungie's still creating their game, so I'm sure they're going to add the S in properly when the full game releases. And then the last perk in this code is Frontal Assault, a powerful melee punch that grants you increased weapon stability. So the Code of the Juggernaut is really all about utilizing your melee abilities, getting right into the fray and punching some guys in the face, and getting rewarded for doing so, getting faster health regeneration and weapon stability and other things like that. So, As I said earlier, and according to an IGN interview, you are only able to select one code. So you can either pick Code of the Juggernaut or the other code that we're going to go over in a sec, and not mix and match skills from each of them. Now this, before we go over the other code, this means a lot of things, and I'm sure some of you are not happy to hear that. I mean, it lowers customization, right? Well, in a sense. In Destiny right now, there isn't a ton of builds people are running per se. Yes, you can specialize in melees by selecting the perks that are meant for melees, so if you wanted to do that, Bungie's is kind of making it easier for you and putting them all in one spot and saying, here, this is the melee class, rather than you selecting your own perks. But what most of the time happened in Destiny is that people selected just the best few perks, and we're just running a mishmash of perks that were generally good rather than specializing in a certain area. It could result in more differentiation within the Striker subclasses. You won't see everyone running relatively the same perks. You will see, let's say 40% of people you run into are running Code of the Juggernaut. The other 60% are running the other code. And again, it is very exciting for adding new codes in future DLCs, and hopefully we can see the Striker subclass diversify over time. Now, the other benefit of codes is that the Striker will now be much easier to balance. You don't have to worry about combinations of perks getting incredibly overpowered when your combinations of perks are limited. So that is also a good thing. However, don't get me wrong, the big bad thing is that this has totally been made casual friendly at the behest of customization. So there's definitely a trade-off. Now let's go over the final code. Firstly, we have Shoulder Charge. Returning from Destiny 1, after sprinting for a short time, press the melee button to Shoulder Charge. After that, we have Aerial Strike. Fist of Havoc deals more damage the longer it's in the air. That's pretty damn cool actually for PvE. Moving on from there, we have Magnitude. Increases the duration of pulse grenades, lightning grenades, and Aftermath. And lastly, we have Aftermath. Fists of Havoc disorients enemies and leaves a damage-dealing field in its wake. And so guys, that's it for all of the different Striker abilities and perks we were able to see and utilize in the Destiny 2 gameplay premiere event. Now, as for what did I think about the Striker overall? Well, I think it got a pretty huge upgrade in PvE. Turning Fist of Havoc into a roaming super, like you can see some of the background gameplay, I just go off with it. Like, it does so much more damage overall. You're able to kill so much more enemies with Fist of Havoc. Like, multiple slams decimating enemies all day long is going to make this thing unbelievably powerful for a strike, for example. Now, still having to get up in their face and get right close and personal to utilize it, yeah, that's not great for a Nightfall with an arc burn per se, when you're going to be damaged quite a bit if you try and do that. But overall, I definitely think it's a PvE upgrade. Now for PvP, it's kind of an upgrade slash downgrade. As I said earlier, the downgrade is that you can't use Fist of Havoc like right away. You can go into the animation to use it and get killed immediately. That is obviously a huge downside. The upside is that you have way more killing potential as well. You can go on amazing streaks in PvP because you're able to get a quadruple slam on the enemy team and then run to where they spawned and slam them again, hypothetically. Like, you're able to do that, whereas with the Fist of Havoc right now, you have the one slam and that's it. Not to mention that just running around and constantly doing the shoulder strike ability that comes with the Fists of Havoc is also great for PvP as well, letting you pick off enemies and lunge towards them at quite a bit of a distance, catching them off guard. I definitely had fun with the Striker Titan playing Destiny 2, and I'm really excited to get to use it when the full game releases. Guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.